Hello, everyone. Today I am interviewing another star student, and his name is Joe Shewmaker. And I'm really excited to ask him questions about his court reporting student experience and where he is right now. Hello, Joe.
Hey, Mark.
So, Joe, how old are you?
I'm 21.
21, and where are you sitting right now?
Right now, I'm in my office in the Grady County Courthouse,
And what state?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, the Grady County Courthouse. And what town is that in?
That's in Chickasha.
Chickasha. Okay, excellent. And you are or were a student of Allie's, is that correct?
Yes.
And which institution did you attend for your court reporting training?
That was the OSU at OKC online program.
Okay, Oklahoma State University Online. When did you first start that program?
I want to say September 2021 or 24.
So he started, actually the program started the end of September 2020, but Joe started late, so he started 5 weeks late. So he had to play catch up on chapters 1 through 16 and learn those while he was still staying caught up with the regular coursework.
Oh my.
Yeah, so he came into the program as a late start. I think he had taken A to Z, right, Joe?
Yes.
Over the summer and was kind of on the fence about whether to enroll or not. He had just graduated from high school. And so he's the latest student I've ever allowed into the program. I've had students start 2 weeks late before. Joe started about 5 weeks late, and he had to do chapters 1 through 16 simultaneously with starting with chapter 17 and then keeping up with the coursework.
Oh my, Joe.
And he managed to pull off an A+ in all three theory classes throughout the entirety of his training, even while getting caught up. So,
Joe, that must have been really hard.
It was fun. I enjoyed it though.
Wow, because starting chapter 16 or 17 and then also doing chapter 1 and 2 must have been really something, huh?
Yeah, 16, 17, that's when it starts to get a little bit harder.
Yeah. Wow. And so if he started 5 weeks late, does that mean he started in October? He actually showed up?
it
It
was
would
the
have
very,
been.
yeah, it was the very beginning of November
Oh,
because we started the coursework on September 24th.
okay,
And
so early November.
yeah, early November is when he actually enrolled, and so he was starting with chapter 17, and then he simultaneously did the first 16 chapters as he went to catch up.
And that was 2021?
20,
20. Okay, pandemic year.
right.
Okay, and then what month did he graduate from you?
So he finished his speeds in January of 22, and he finished all of his academics in April of 22.
Okay,
Yeah, so he started technically in November of 2020, and he finished his speeds in January of 22. But he finished everything because he was kind of like we talked about. He got his speeds first,
right.
and then he still needed to finish up English and medical and his procedures.
Okay, so it's a year and 2 months for the speed approximately, and then a couple more months for the academics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he started. So we were 2 nights a week part time. So he was 9 hours a week.
Wow.
So we went Thursday and Friday nights for a 4.5 hour class each night. So that was kind of rough. We finished at 10 p.m. on Thursdays and Friday evenings. And then he did nothing but theory for 6 months. And then I did my introductory to speed building course that I do where I test their hand speed. And he started at a flat 140 across the board for all of his speeds.
Wow.
Going into
Excellent.
speed building. So all categories. And so he was, we started speed building, if I'm not mistaken, it was like, I believe April or May of 2021 is when we started.
Okay.
So then he got all of his speeds in January. Then he graduated from school and passed his Oklahoma CSR test the same month in April 2022 and started interviewing, and then had several job offers as an official, and then chose which job he wanted and started working. Was it May or June last year?
It was May.
So he's a little bit, he's about 15 months into his career.
Oh, wow. Congratulations, Joe.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is just great. Yesterday I took a deposition, and it was downtown Houston in the skyscrapers, and I had all these memories of my very first depositions in Houston, and I asked myself, gosh, would I have believed it if someone had said 40 years from now you're going to be in this same building hitting an elevator button and taking a deposition? And I still am doing it 40 years later, and I just love it.
Came full circle.
Yes. So you said you were 21 now, is that right?
Yes.
So were you 20 or 19 when you graduated?
I would have been 20 when I graduated.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And are you married? Do you have children?
No on both of those.
Okay, well, that makes it easier to get through court reporting school then.
It does.
And do you play any musical instruments?
Yeah, I like to play guitar. Once I started school, I kind of had to stop for a little bit, but I'm just kind of getting back in it now.
Cool, very good. I'm a very amateur guitar player, but not very advanced. But I do like.
Oh, me too.
I use it to help me write songs, so that's what I do.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. And did you play video games growing up, especially high intensity video games?
Not much, actually.
Okay.
I didn't really do a lot of video games.
Okay. Trying to see what are some what would you call them, Allie? People who play instruments often do better at court reporting.
Common characteristics for students that seem to excel in machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how did you discover court reporting, Joe?
That was just all by chance. Shortly after I graduated, I think my mom sent me a Facebook article with some Oklahoma senator, I think, just talking about the shortage of court reporters. And she just said, "Why don't you try this?"
Wow.
I said, "Why not?"
That's a miracle. And so at that time you had not started college yet anywhere, or had you?
I had not. No, I was looking for a way to not go to college too.
Yeah, me too, actually. I was not looking forward to 4 years of homework.
Oh, yeah.
And so court reporting school was a huge blessing for me. I thank God for pointing it out to me, and it looks like he pointed it out to your mom, who pointed it out to you. That is wonderful. So, did you go through chapter 49 or 50 in the Magnum Steno book then? Do you recall?
I think we got to about 50.
Okay.
I think we went a little past that.
Okay. Did you happen to learn the years in one stroke?
Yes. Allie went over with us.
Do you still use them today, or not too much?
I actually don't.
Okay.
I just write those out. Yeah.
Okay, good. How about, how are you enjoying writing short?
I love it.
Excellent.
Saves me a lot of time.
Yeah. And do you invent briefs on your job for things you need?
Definitely for all these names and stuff too.
Excellent.
I just have one thing I go with.
Yes. And court can be real challenging for a brand new person. How was it at the very beginning for you?
It was, very intense at first. But all the judges here are really good in, making sure everyone doesn't talk at the same time or let me know we're on the record just every single time. They're really good about that.
Oh, excellent. And how is the speed that you've had to face? Does it feel like 180, 225, sometimes 250, 260, 280, or what is it like?
No, it definitely can feel pretty fast, but I would say most of the time it feels a lot easier than the stuff we did in school.
Excellent. Excellent. That is great. Let's see. So you went straight into official, and there's a big need for officials in Oklahoma.
Yes, there is.
That's great. And did you move to the town you're in now, or
I moved to a town about 20 miles west called Anadarko, just because Chickashaw's a little big for me. I like a smaller town.
Okay, so how long is your commute?
Just about 25 minutes.
Okay,
But Joe, you grew up in that general area, right?
Yeah, more in like the Blanchard area, a little bit east of that.
excellent. Okay, I want to ask, while you were in school, what your practice training was like. Did you say, Allie, that he had 4 nights a week?
Two.
Two
So
nights
we
a
were in
week.
class, yeah, it's a part-time program, and we were in class 9 hours a week on Thursday and Friday evenings, because I would teach at Tulsa Community College Monday through Wednesday and OSU Thursdays and Fridays.
Okay.
So, yeah, so he would go to class 9 hours a week, and Joe was a beast on the machine. He would do every single thing I ever told him to do. He would put in extra time. Almost every time I logged into EV360 to grade tests, he was logged in and practicing, because you can tell which of your students are logged in. You know, when you got the manager button, and he won the performance scholarship, the tuition scholarship several times, probably 4 or 5. Where where the school and you, Mark, because your partner, cover his tuition for the month. So yeah, I've never given that scholarship to the same student as many times as Joe earned it, and it is based on performance that month. So if you get it one month, it doesn't mean that you don't qualify the next month. It's whichever student is working the hardest every month. So yeah, he kind of stood out right from the beginning. I thought, well, this ought to be interesting. Here comes somebody who's going to have to catch up 5 weeks worth of tests and homework and lessons. And back at the time, I wasn't recording my classes. So he had to catch up basically without even watching recordings of me teaching the lessons. So it was just more like me telling him, okay, look at this. If there's any changes to the book, I went over them with him. And so basically the first few weeks of his lessons were largely self-paced, while he was also logging in and attending the later chapters, but then having to stay caught up with the coursework for both things until he caught up. I think it took him 3 weeks to catch up to chapter 16 and be where we were at that point, 3 weeks in. And he had my attention right away, because I could tell that when he was in class, he was shy. Sorry, Joe, he's a little shy, but he's very engaged, and that light bulb was on in his eyes, and he was really interested in it, and he asked really good questions. And when we went into the pre-speed building portion of the training, I had 3 that were all in advanced speed, so I had to do a separate dictation room for them. So it was the first time as a teacher teaching online that I had to have breakout rooms, because 3 of my students were so advanced in their skill set coming right out of theory that I would be dictating way too slow for them if they stayed in the other class. So I would go take the 3 of them, and incidentally, they were the first 3 graduates from this program.
Excellent.
I would take the 3 of them in a room by themselves while the other ones practiced independently, like reviewing their theory book, and I would dictate to them pretty much 160 to 225, because they were working on either pretty much 160 and above. So I would just do varying speeds, fast to slow, and then we would all go back into the other room. I would do that for like 30 minutes, and then they would also sit in on the accuracy for them. It was speed building for everybody else, but it was accuracy practice for the 3 that were at advanced speeds when we started that.
That's excellent. And Joe, do you have any close relatives who are court reporters?
I don't.
Okay.
This is just only me.
Okay, excellent. And how's your real time looking as you look at your screen in the court?
I have actually focused a lot more on that in the last few weeks, because I'm just starting to try and get back into practice and get my RPR. But no, I've definitely seen some improvement. just to focus on what my screen looks like. So I'm able to read back, if need be.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Do you hope to provide real time in the future at some point?
Yes, I'd like to be able to, or have that option.
Your judge has not requested it yet?
No, no attorneys have either. We
Okay,
live in Grady County. We're slow talkers.
okay. Oh, that's nice. That helps. Oh, that is excellent. Let's see. So what was your practice day like? Allie has told us some of it so that we might be able to guess, but on Thursday and Friday, obviously, you spent 4.5 hours Thursday and Friday nights, but what were you doing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday?
Yeah, so it was really all kind of the same every day. I would, if I remember right, it's been a little bit, but I would do something in the morning just to try and get my brain going. And then, just kind of go on with my day. And I'd have a big session of, several hours, start out with finger drills, do, just work on my, trouble words and stuff like that. And then I do a lot of speed practice.
Allie, do your students use WG files to practice the chapters?
The word files are they're given the word files weekly when I teach them theory class, and they're given both the Excel spreadsheet WG files and the sentences. What I have them do with the sentences when they're from week 1, I have them take the English and put brackets around everything they can phrase.
Smart.
So that their brains are thinking about phrasing from the very beginning, and that way when they hit speed building, they already have, they're ahead of the game because the phrases are coming to them naturally because they've just spent 6 months kind of bracketing out where the phrases go, and then they can check their work to see if it's correct going off the Steno notes that you provide for the sentences. So they can take the English and bracket out, and I do several homework assignments like that they have to turn in. And then the alternate of that is 1 week I'd have them have to translate from the Steno for their homework. So 1 week they're translating from the Steno into English, and the next week they only have the English. They don't have the Steno available, and they have to mark the phrases, and then I give them the Steno after the fact so they can check and see how many phrases they missed on the sentences. But they also have the WG files.
Excellent. So Joe, did you use the WG files a lot when you were in theory?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I remember those assignments that Allie had.
It would have been Excel files with 30 words, and you hit F9 and it refreshes the list.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So are you phrasing as much as you want to with what you learned today?
I am. Yeah, I feel like that's probably my best.
Excellent.
So he writes very short. He always has. Same with you, Mark. I think you have students that pick up more of the theory than others,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's because I really try to preach to them repetition over memorization. They've got to have their hands on the machine, and the memorization will come. But if they're just trying to memorize from study sets or from the book without the repetition, it's not gonna help them when they start building speed. So he was really good about he's one of the shortest writers I've had as a student. Because a lot of them will pick up certain things, but then they don't know the briefs, so they're just stroking all of the briefs out. You know what I mean? So they're not writing as short as they could, but Joe's always written extremely short because I have the benefit, of course, of being able to review his notes when he was enrolled with me, and he's one of the shortest writers I've taught.
Excellent. Joe, what was it? I lost the question. I had it in there. Okay, Joe. Shoot, I had it and it went away. Did you know, Joe, that there's a lot of reporters who learn to write and they don't learn any phrases?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they write
They
write all the small words
That's
alone,
me.
like I was, I am the. of your, all those little words during that time. And they'll even write during in two strokes, right, Allison?
Yeah, yeah, that was me. And
Yeah.
I was taught that I couldn't phrase things like for the because of the word fort.
Yeah. Yep,
So,
we do FOT, don't we, Joe?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, that's great. And Allie had suggested I asked you about when you were speed training, how much high speed or speed training did you do versus accuracy practice?
Yeah, so I definitely remember a lot more high speed training. I would do, a lot of 20, 40 above. I don't hardly remember doing ever anything below. I don't know if I ever did. Just try and write faster.
Yes.
That's always been what I try and do.
so the reason you to ask that question is because I think a lot of students struggle with can they just push for speed and is it going to mess up their accuracy? And I'm a firm believer, and I think Mark you are too, that when you push for speed, you have the hand speed to allow for accuracy. So as long as you've got a good dictionary, which these students are all blessed with because they use your working dictionary, if you have the hand speed, you're going to have time to correct as you go if you need to. So it's not that accuracy is not important. It's definitely important. And as you're a working reporter, it's very important. But when you're pushing through speeds, I think with the benefit of us teaching students these days real time, that's a huge benefit. But at the same time, it can stop students in their tracks in speed building because they're so worried about what is or isn't coming up on the screen that they forget to just push for speed because they're able to transcribe it later.
Right.
So it's kind of like the difference as a working reporter between competing in the real-time contest where you can't transcribe versus the speed contest where you can. You kind of have a real-time hat that you put on, and then you take that one off and you have a speed hat that you put on. And when you're pushing for speed, you don't really care if it's translating as long as you're going to be able to read it. So I think a lot of students will reach out sometimes and say, I'm really concerned that if I practice 20 words a minute above, I'm not going to have any accuracy or vice versa. And I'm trying to explain to them that it'll take them longer to get through their speeds if they don't have enough hand speed to compensate and pass their goal or test speed, So I just wanted to make the distinction, at least myself as an instructor, what I've noticed myself teaching students from the beginning that don't transfer into my class later, the ones that are making it through the training the quickest are the ones that listen and just push for speed, and they don't really care if they're good at it. They just trust the process, and they're willing to just fail, but then, have the faith that it's going to all come together on the back end. And that's not easy to do, but I think there's always that argument out there about speed versus accuracy when you're specifically a student and pushing for speed.
Right.
So I just thought it was important to kind of note that.
Yeah, excellent. Joe, how many other reporters are in your courthouse?
Just one other one.
Okay, 2 reporters. So are there 2 courtrooms then?
We have 3. I'm kind of in between 2 judges. I'm mostly down here with the associate judge, but sometimes with the special judge upstairs.
Okay. And do you get to talk with the other reporter now and then?
Oh yeah, no, we communicate a lot. She's very helpful.
That's excellent. Does she know that you write super short?
I don't think so. I know that she writes really long.
You know that she writes really long?
I've seen her notes a few times.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, Mark, because my students that work at larger counties, they're teaching the veteran reporters how to phrase.
Yes.
And not only how to phrase, but how to do automatic indexing on their software. And I think that's kind of funny. It's great. The students coming out of school are well trained to do their jobs and are able to train veteran reporters on how to write shorter. Which is the veteran reporters will be asking my students that are new professionals, how does Mark write this or how does Mark write that? And they're able to tell them, and they're like, why have I been doing this for 20 years?
Yes.
25 years,
Yeah.
So.
Man, that's amazing. Let's see, there's another one I had, but I can't think of it. Let me pause the video again. Okay, Joe, are you having to transcribe a lot in the courthouse?
I get quite a bit, especially on those prelims, which is just kind of automatic transcript. But no, I get a decent amount. They keep me busy.
Didn't you say that this is the first time really that you've caught up fully since you started?
Yes, but I have gotten another order since then.
Well, he was saying last week, I'm really caught up, but I'm getting kind of bored now. So at least you got your order now.
Yeah.
And he's been able to do a couple of depositions too on the side.
And which CAT software are you on, Joe?
Case Catalyst.
Okay. And you've done a couple depositions. I'm glad to hear that. How did that go?
Pretty good. I don't have a judge to keep things in order, so I have to speak up sometimes and fill that role. But
Yes.
I have fun with it.
Ah, that is great. I'm so excited to hear that. It's really great to see such a young person as yourself doing well at 21 years old, and you've already got more than a year under your belt. That is great. And can you think of anything else you would want to add, Allie? And I'll also ask the same for you, Joe. Is there anything else you'd like to add that might help other students that are watching this interview?
I have one. Joe, if you don't mind, why don't you just give a little bit of insight as to how you handled when you were failing? So during the speed building process, when you didn't have many tests that you didn't pass, but when you did have tests that you didn't pass, how did you handle that headspace wise so that it didn't get you down and make you want to pull back and not try? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember specifically I was stuck on, I think, 160 for something for a very long time. It was at a 140, something like that. But no, I would just get like 90.
Hey, Joe, a very long time is not 1 month.
Well,
I just wanted to throw that out there.
Other students would laugh at that because they get stuck for 6 months or a year.
Yeah. But that's okay. For you, it was a very long time. That's correct.
A month.
it is. Yeah, I mean, it is just a horrible feeling to, get close to passing or get a 5% on a test. But no, I always just kind of looked at it like this job is what I'm doing. So, just kind of make your mind up before you even start. Like, this is going to be my career, so there's no quitting,
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Did you go to public school, private school, or homeschool?
Public school.
Public school, okay. Excellent.
Joe, did you work at all while you were in school? Mark usually asks that question
I
too.
forgot that one.
Yeah, for the first, not long. I had been working at Dollar General for like 2 years before that, and shortly after I started school, I quit, just so I could focus on that.
When you were
Excellent.
trying to catch up on chapters 1 through 16, no doubt.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
Joe, students who learn the Magnum Steno theory generally know that chapter 20 and 21 are a real beast. How was that for you?
Oh gosh, those were long chapters too.
Yes.
You had to take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think its final N is chapter 21, and there's just so many words, briefs, phrases.
Well, I do a mercy. That's my mercy week for my students, Mark. I don't think I've ever told you that before, but it's the only chapter that I don't make them test on weekly. Now, it's still included in their midterm, but I don't give them a test that week. I give them a homework assignment instead, because they would get so overwhelmed with the sheer gravity of chapter 21 that they'd be crying that week. So I said, okay, listen, I'm a tenured teacher now. I'm three cohorts in. I'm going to do everybody a solid and allow you to do this homework assignment that's going to take you several hours, but you don't have to test this week. And they acted like it was the best present they ever got on Christmas morning. So I did that with my third group of students, and ever since then, that's what I do. Chapter 21, they have this very lengthy homework assignment where they have to transcribe sentences, several, like from the teacher sentences that they're not used to hearing. And so they've got to transcribe those and then send me their Steno notes. But they're happy to do it in lieu of testing on chapter 21. And then, of course, we still have questions over chapter 21 included on the midterm and the final. But
Excellent.
they kind of, that was a much more chipper way for them to get through chapter 21. But yeah, I think incidentally, right when he finished chapter 21, that's when he was caught up. So
Wow.
he was doing chapters 1 through 16, and 18 through 21 at the same time. And then once we started chapter 22, he didn't have to do any catch-up work. So
Right. And Joe, how do you like the Philadelphia shift? That is moving your hand over your right hand so you can push SD down.
Oh yeah, it is very natural at this point.
Good, good. And do you have any right-hand phrase enders or any particular concept that you really enjoy that you'd like to tell us about?
For some reason, some specific phrase enders or words are just a little more satisfying to hit than others. I love the phrase ender for take and took.
Mm-hmm.
That's one I didn't even learn about in school. I just had to,
You looked it up? You
no, it was in the later chapters, I
The
believe.
later one.
Yeah.
So you like her, did you take, I took, when you took.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. That is great.
So we do stop at chapter 50 when we start that introductory to speed building class, but we still have an advanced theory class where they go through. There's certain chapters in the rest of the book that I teach live, and the rest they're supposed to do self-study.
Okay.
I just wanted to clear that up because I know that when we interviewed Emma, some people were confused and thought that she meant that she didn't learn anything after chapter 50 and that's all she was taught. So we just do theory only for the first 6 months, and that gets us through chapter 50.
Got
And
it.
then once chapter 50 is done, I feel like they have all the tools they need to learn to start speed building because they know, almost all of the prefixes, suffixes, maybe just IZE or something like that. But they know, the whole keyboard, all the prefixes and suffixes, many of the right-hand phrase enders. So I start them on speeds, but then for the next 12 weeks, they learn advanced theory where one night a week is spent on speed building. The other night, they're learning certain chapters of the second half of the book, and the other chapters are designated self-study.
Right. Joe, do you do any the phrases like the car, the case, the plaintiff, the defendant, things like that?
I actually do a lot by accident. I'm always hitting
You
that
need to do
number.
the court. You need to do the
The
court,
court.
yesterday. DOURT for the court in one stroke.
I need to
Especially
start
since you're an
doing that.
official.
Yeah,
Yeah, since you're
the-
an official, you need to write that one
The
down.
phrases are so amazing. I'm using them sometimes up to 6 or 7 times a minute.
I use them a lot also.
And sometimes only 2 or 3 times a minute. But you do too, Allie?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great. I'm so glad to hear that.
Everything. Well, yeah, I mean, every time I teach your theory, I pick up something new. And I say, why did I not pick this up last time? But,
Excellent.
when you're learning a long-handed theory, I can't stress enough, you have to have the patience to pick up the short-handed theory a little bit at a time so that it doesn't cause hesitation when you're writing.
Right.
You want to make sure that you can implement the concepts you're working on without, I tell people in my seminar, Mark, my short writing seminar, that the first time I picked up your book, way before I met you, I was thinking, what kind of Kool-Aid is this guy drinking? Because I was just in the middle of the book. I'm being totally blunt right now. But I was just picked up the middle of the book and was trying to incorporate stuff that it was a right-hand phrase ender, but wasn't really making sense to me. Years later, when I started finally saying, hey, if I'm going to be a teacher, this is the method I want to use because this is the best method for students. I could have taken, the short road and just taught them Roberts, Walsh, Gonzalez, which is what I learned, but that's not what's best for students, and I wasn't
Right.
going to do that to them. So putting yourself out there and saying, okay, I really want to learn everything that's in this book, but this isn't going to be by osmosis. Like, I'm not just going to absorb this and then it all works. So you get to the point where you realize once you start at chapter 1, how uniform and how you build the foundation and how the book is laid out specifically, really how now I can sit there and work. And I'm on a real-time job and something's not tranning, and I say, how would Mark write that? And then I can get it to translate in a portion of a second.
Yeah.
Because I use your dictionary, so I realized very quickly that you were drinking all of the flavors of Kool-Aid together, and this is actually very amazing. But, if you just pick out one piece, it's hard. But when you go from the beginning, you realize that foundation is built starting with chapter 1 and already phrasing, and then it just, it builds off of each other.
Wow.
So
yeah.
so I picked up the phrases a few years ago. So I make sure I always teach those to my students, because there are so many phrases in your dictionary that start with the. I think there's several thousand in there that start with the word the that you can do.
Well, wait a minute. It should be over 300,000.
That start with the?
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe it is.
Yeah, it's because I took...
Oh, I'm talking about end with the. Forget it. You're
end
right.
with the.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
yeah.
But what I do, I was saying that I do the phrases that start with the, but the number of phrases that end with the is several thousand, because I use that in one of my teaching seminars to try to get people to write the with the right hand instead of the left hand.
True.
Yeah. There's so many options to phrase with phrases starting with the. You can throw it before anything. So Joe, you should definitely pick up the court, the case, the court reporter. That should be your first 3.
What you could do, Joe, is you could just start with some basic words and try throwing in the number bar, and it works with 99%, but not all. But it's like, so the man, you just write man and you sneak the number bar in, and it's the man. Yeah. So, do you teach them the W words and the B words to do the phrases? So
Yeah, I teach all of that.
So, Joe, don't you do the boy and the work and stuff with initial T? Because that was a chapter.
Actually, I just write everything out.
Okay.
As far as that.
All right. You might want to start looking at that, because it'll give you 1 to 2% faster speed.
Yeah. Especially for the eventual RMR. That'll help.
All right.
Start with the court, because it's just TKOURT. So you're just tucking in the with court.
Yeah.
And that's something that you use a lot as an official. So that would give you a lot of bang for your buck.
Yep. Well, Joe, I'm really proud of you and very impressed with your accomplishments and your whole story. You're just an amazing person, and I'm so glad that you graduated and are a new young court reporter in our field. Thank you for taking the time to do this interview. I'm sure it will inspire other students.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Is anything else any of you can think of before we sign off?
No, I just want to tell Joe I'm real proud of him. He knows that, though. But he was an exceptional student to teach, and he's an exceptional court reporter, and I'm just really excited to see where his career takes him.
Me too, Joe. All right. Well, I'll end this interview. Thank you, everybody, and those of you watching the video, I do hope you've enjoyed it. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.